So, has Aaron's Law been proposed in Kansas before? Or, uh, or I guess I should say I'm saying it Aaron's Law. It's Erins Law, right? If I'm gonna say it right.
Yes,
Has it
yes,
been proposed in Kansas before?
yes. Erins Law has actually been proposed in Kansas before. It actually came up in committee 3 years ago, back in 2017. Unfortunately, it was killed by John Whitmore. He's very proud. If you ask him, he's very proud that he killed Erins Law. Luckily, him and a lot of people like him are now out of office. John Whitmore lost his election back in 2018, and now this time the bill it's gone to a different committee this time. It's actually in the education committee, which I think that gives it a lot better chance of getting passed. This bill is almost identical to the original bill that died in committee back
Mm-hmm.
in 2017. Because it did go through a couple of different. They did work it in committee. It underwent a lot of different changes. But I am happy with the bill as it is currently written.
Nice, nice. So I guess I know you mentioned since John Whitmer's gone and he was the main proponent of killing this in committee. Do you think there are going to be others that are against it? Or are you hopeful that maybe this time around there'll be more representatives will be receptive to it?
Yeah, a concern we always get trying to teach children anything sexually related at all, is you get some people, I guess, the more Bible thumpers. So that's always going to be a concern. But I think with recent events, I think people are going to be more open to actually solving this legislation. I think if you look at other bills that representatives and senators have sponsored this session, I think this is a focus of the legislature. And one argument that I always get from some of my Republican colleagues is that this is a parent's responsibility. A parent or a relative should be the one instructing these students about the danger signs of child sexual abuse. But that's really not very realistic, because if we really look at it, most of the time when a child is being sexually exploited, the abuse is being done onto them by a close family member or relative. So it's simply unrealistic to expect the parents to teach their kids about the warning signs, because it's usually the parents who are abusing their own children. And and another thing that's so important about this is, even if the child knows it's wrong, which even they usually don't, if they're in elementary and this has happened to them, it's usually not till middle school that they learn that, oh wow, this is unacceptable. And by that time, the damage is done. Not only is it teaching children what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, but it's also teaching children, if this happens to you or you feel concerned at any time, this is how you can report it. This is how you can seek help. Because I hear stories far too often, especially in my district. When I was knocking door to door, what we see is, like, usually, it's a stepdad, and he says, oh, if you tell anybody about this, if you ever go to the police or whoever, I'm gonna do X and Y or Z to you. And this kid is too scared to report it. And what we really need to do is the teachers need to be trained on it, but also the teachers need to let the students know that this is how you can report it. And if you do report it, there's gonna be no consequences for you reporting what's going on, because a lot of children are gonna be too scared to report it unless we.
Definitely no. Yeah, no, that all makes complete sense. And I mean that is true. I don't know the stats in front of me. You can go Google it, but the majority of sexual abuse does come usually from a close family member, not a complete stranger.
Right.
I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but the vast majority of it, yeah, it usually comes from a child's inner circle, if you will. Um, I guess really my next question is, since we kind of covered the law and kind of some of the logistics about it, what can viewers do to pressure their officials to pass this legislation going forward?
Yeah, there's two avenues. Really, what my proposal is it's a mandate on the state board of education. Preferably, the state board of education do this on their own. So if everybody can just email their representative on the state school board and email other people's representative, call them and let the state board of the state board of Kansas let them know that they need to do this. They need to teach students and teachers about the warning signs of sexual abuse. But this is Kansas. I don't expect the state board of Kansas is gonna do it on their own. Um, so we have another option, which is through the legislature. The legislature can just say, okay, you're gonna do it. The governor has signed it into law, and you're gonna do it. So that's our other avenue, which I'm currently trying to push. And it would just be so helpful if people could contact not only their state representatives and their state senators, but contact other people's state senators. Contact if you live in eastern Kansas, northeastern Kansas, like I live. Call people in western Kansas. Call people in Wichita, and vice versa. We need people all over the state, and we need to let these legislators know that the public is paying attention, and the cycle of abuse needs to stop. And because truthfully, if we implement Erins Law now, it's really not going to produce results for about 20 years. And the reason I say that, because any educational proposal you ever implement is always going to have a 20-year delay. And the reason I say that is because you're still going to have these parents who never learned this in school. There's a lot of parents who love their children, but I like to say every child is entitled a mom and a dad, but not every mom and a dad should have a child. So really what would happen is if we implemented this today, it wouldn't necessarily stop the children from being sexually exploited by their parents or relatives. But I mean it would allow us to remove the child from a dangerous situation sooner. But long term, if we do implement this, people will be going through school, they'll be learning this in school that this is inappropriate, and hopefully 20, 30 years from now, everybody who one day becomes a parent will just know you don't do this to your child, and we can just wipe this from Kansas permanently.
No, yeah, definitely. That is a good point. There is a delayed reaction kind of to, implementing things like that. It's not like as soon as it passes and then it goes into effect, you know, it just automatically fixes everything. So it is a, over time thing. We do have a couple more minutes left. I know we had some delays, but we only got so long to do this town hall. Would you want to talk about? I think one of your other bills that you've been working on is the Cahoots program.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Cahoots is an acronym for crisis assistance, helping out on the streets. Basically what Cahoots seeks to establish is mobile crisis teams, which each mobile crisis team would always consist of 2 to 3 individuals. One of those people is always a medic. The other person is either an addiction professional and or a mental health professional. So it's always going to be 2 to 3 people on these mobile crisis teams. And really Cahoots is a style of police reform called unburdening the police. Because right now, the police are in too many situations, and it's stressful, and it's dangerous. So what we need skilled professionals to respond to dangerous situations with the mentally ill and de-escalate them.
No, definitely. That sounds actually really good. Because I know some people don't like the term, defund the police, and really, you think to implement this program, you'd actually probably have to give them more money, right? Because
Yes, yes.
they're not just gonna create this, I guess task force that would, mental health task force just out of thin air, right? So
Yeah, you're completely right, Gavin. The term defund the police is just completely asinine. I don't know where people get that from. It makes no sense. Something like I'm proposing where you want social workers to respond to people in crisis. That's going to cost more money, and they say relocate the funds. There's not enough money to relocate. It's going to point blank defunding the police will not work. It's never going to work. It's a bad idea. We need to invest more resources into essentially what Cahoots is community policing, and community policing is not cheap. Community policing is going to cost us quite a bit. So I don't know why people keep pulling up this defund the police stuff, because I've looked at the numbers. It's going to cost us more money if we really want to, you know, solve these problems.
Yeah, I think it was kind of created as a, a catchphrase to get people to kind of listen in on it, but yeah, to a degree it can be, I guess, misinterpreted. Um so I guess with that, I'm going to end this town hall since we basically covered Aaron's Law, and I let you speak about your next bill. And I don't know, do you want to maybe we can do another town hall later, or maybe we'll talk about the Cahoots bill when I don't know, has that been filed yet?
Um,
Or are you still working on that?
it's I think by the end of the week I should have a rough draft. The process is, I'm hoping by, I think by Sunday I'm trying to have a rough draft of my Cahoots bill. The process is then it would then go to the proofing department in the revisor's office. So maybe the end of the week it'd be published and have a, a House bill number. But more realistically, it's probably going to be, not next week, but the week after that. So I'm hoping to have Cahoots published um, in a format available for people to read by the end of January.
Very nice, very nice. Well, then maybe we'll do another town hall then. With that, I want to thank you, for doing this town hall, talking about Erins Law, and talking about Cahoots, the other, I guess, legislation you're working on. And I guess you have a good night, Aaron.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gavin.